Good morning, everyone. We are honored to have amongst us thought leaders from so many different areas discussing a very defining topic of our time, diversity and inclusion. As a female millennial working at Lenovo Research, this topic is near and dear to my heart. I'd like to introduce you to Yolanda Conyers, the Chief Diversity Officer, and Laura Quatela, Chief Legal Officer at Lenovo. Laura, let's level set a minute and define intelligent transformation.
So Lenovo's term intelligent transformation means applying new technologies across devices, software, data center infrastructure to create powerful solutions for people, to make those solutions accessible and to use them responsibly. Look, there are 20 billion connected devices in the world. 90% of the data that was created, that exists today, was created in the last 2 years. When you think about the power of the data and the connected device infrastructure that's been created, we're transforming the world, right? And we want to make sure that we do that inclusively.
Thanks, Laura. This is a good time for teeing up the question. Why does inclusion matter more than ever before? Yolanda?
Yeah. Well, at Lenovo, we believe that intelligent transformation demands inclusion. So look, the world is flat and is getting more and more diverse than ever. Consider these stats. 38% of global consumers agree that they will not buy a product or service unless it matches their values and their beliefs. And so a lot of brands are under a lot of scrutiny and pressure today to take a stance around their values, and particularly around diversity. At the same time, in the US, I'll share some stats, women represent $14 trillion in spend. And 80% of the time, they're making the purchasing decisions. People of color represent over 50% of the spend for key products in a lot of categories. And then the LGBTQ represents $1 trillion in spend. So at Lenovo, we recognize that our products and services are only as good as the people, the diverse people that make, create, and use them. And so diversity and inclusion is a competitive advantage.
Thank you. Laura, with all of this information, how do you lead with D&I in mind?
So at Lenovo, it starts at the top. We have a leadership executive committee that there are 14 of us, and I think we represent 5 or more nationalities. We meet monthly, not virtually, but face-to-face around the world, not just where our headquarters are in Beijing and Raleigh, but in markets that we serve. We make sure that the decisions that we take in those meetings are data-driven. It's important in our company to understand where we stand at any given moment and what we're heading towards. So, for instance, Yolanda will mention the diversity and inclusion report that we issued in 2018. In that report, we made a commitment of 20% women executives by 2020. And we're very close to that. So in our company, we pay a lot of attention to these things, which is required, as we say. What doesn't get measured doesn't get done.
Yeah, that's true. Lenovo is a global company with about 54,000 employees. Yolanda, how does Lenovo approach D&I?
Well, if we think about diversity and inclusion in the box, then we failed. And so we have a strategy, and for the past 13 years as a global company, it's been about how do we embed D&I in the culture and in the business practices. And you're right, we're global. So we have employees living and working in over 60 countries around the world. So our diversity strategy, it has to be flexible. And so as we use data, insights, feedback from our employees, we're able to customize so that we can address the needs in the countries based on their gaps and opportunities. And so our strategy includes several pillars. One, we are building inclusive skills and behaviors in the organization by leveraging feedback and information. And that helps us, design training, coaching, and mentoring for our employees. We are fostering inclusion in our processes, our policies, practices. That's important because that shapes the culture. So, for example, we have a policy or a zero tolerance around discriminating or harassing employees anywhere around the world in over the 60 countries where our employees live and work. In fact, Laura and I sent out a note right after the Me Too movement. I know there was a conversation about that earlier that spoke about we have a zero tolerance for this behavior in the company. Again, these types of policy shapes the company and the culture. We also have a policy around making sure you have a diverse slate when you're considering women or people of color for hiring in the organization. Those are just to name a few. The third thing is we hold ourselves accountable, right? So we set goals. We set a goal, and we said we want to be at 20% around women in executive positions. And so we're measuring ourselves. We hold ourselves accountable. We look at this information and monitor it. And finally, we tell our story. And so we're very open with our employees, so in the company and outside, about what our numbers are, where we are, where our gaps are, where we need to improve. That's important. In fact, the D&I report was launched. It's available for all of you to view, and all the programs and some of the things I'm talking about is all highlighted in that report. But more importantly, being at events like this, we love sponsoring events, participating in these type of venues, because this is a journey, right? And you have to stay at it. And so we want to hear from you. We want to learn your best practices, and we want to share with you what we're doing. And so we really work to embed D&I into the fabric of the company.
That's true. Thank you.
Yes.
And working as a researcher in Lenovo Research, I think the advantage for Lenovo is it's a truly global company, and our teams are very diverse. So when you're training your machine learning algorithms, you want your data set to be as diverse as possible. And when you have diverse teams, for example, if you're using a fingerprint sensor, then people have different size fingers, they have different skin colors. And for facial recognition, again, you have different facial features, skin colors, and the same for natural language processing. So I think the more diverse your data set, the better.
And we're working on products like that, right? We are focused on things like image recognition and text recognition, translating into dialects to make sure that our products are usable in remote areas. We're looking at medical image recognition that supports underserved populations and communities. So this is all top of mind to us, not only in the way that we manage and build and develop our workforce, but also in the products and services that we produce.
Yep. Yolanda, you're an engineer by training, and how do you think we can minimize the bias in AI?
Well, first of all, there's definitely a sense of urgency. This technology, this revolution that we're all experiencing, it's moving really, really fast. And so I think it's important for organizations to make sure they're building inclusive behaviors and skills in the organization. So critical, because what that allows is the courageous conversations that need to be had in the organization, right? So that we can generate or ensure that there's action and awareness around inclusion. The second point is you just have to have a diverse team, because AI requires computing power, algorithms, and data, and diverse data. And the more you train the algorithm and the more diverse the data, the better the solution. And so we have a mission. We want to be a leader in this information intelligent transformation, and we want to provide technology for all. But we want to provide technology for all. We have to make sure our data set is diverse. And so we're having conversations here in the company trying to figure out what are the best practices, or what is the governance that's needed to ensure our AI is diverse.
Thank you. The last question. Tomorrow is International Women's Day, and the theme is Balance for Better. What does it mean to you?
Balance for better to me means being able to bring your whole self to the table. And I think at Lenovo we encourage that, bringing our professional selves to our work, but our personal selves into the work environment. So as an example, what's important to my family is medical missions. My husband's in Hanoi this week building ears for kids that were born without them. Lenovo supports that. They support our fundraising. They support the time that we devote to that charity. And that's something that I've not experienced in other companies I've worked in.
For me, it's, at the end of the day, it's eliminating all the barriers so that women can be treated equally in the workplace, and not just in the workplace, in society. We have to disrupt the biases in the workplace and in society. And so having the conversations, being bold, it's necessary. So that would be my perspective.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
both of you, for contributing to this
Thank you.
discussion.
Yes.
Thank you.